Welcome to iAMradio5. And I think the tagline I want to use is the REAL practical. Oh man, what's the word? Channel? I had another word for after it. What was it? This is why it's important to take notes at night. Anyhow, I have several topics I'm really excited to share today. I want to cap this at, hello, thanks for coming, nice to see you. I want to cap this at 30 minutes so that if this is a format that's helpful to people, they don't feel overwhelmed by the length. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is the power of language. Ooh, buddy. There's a lot to leverage in the language space once you get up in there. And I'm going to use the example of how concepts influence our emotional experience through their lack of clear definition. You can use this in a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. If you have questions or a word that's important to you, shout out. That's why we're live. So I think it's helpful to point out, so this is coming from my lab, and I've been in this space, behavior change space, for a minute now, in some capacity. And so when I'm talking to something like this, I'm not talking about it theoretically. It's like my theory, but I also have used this and done this with myself and real humans for a lot of years now. And my approach to everything is always, you're the you expert, not me. So when I'm suggesting and sharing things like this, imagine that I'm putting it on your table and I'm not putting it on top of you and saying like, you must use this, you must do this, it's only this way. I'm putting it on the table and you can take it apart and take pieces of it and like make it yours. It's not about me, it's about you. I don't need to be right, I only want to be supportive. And the number one thing I want to support is your own inner wisdom and intelligence. I think what is a beautiful thing to explore for myself and people that I've taught to do it is your own guidance. Like, a lot of the content I put out is around, you already know, because you already know. There is communication that runs constantly, but you can develop an awareness of it, and it makes life real magical and easy. If that's something that you're interested in learning, like, holler at me. So back to language. This one's super fun. So I have here a target. The target is success. And for this example, imagine that a person wants to deeply be a success. All their life, they've been thinking, I need to be successful, I want to be successful. And maybe those were the conscious thoughts that they heard, or maybe what they heard was, I need to get this promotion, I need to be this, I need to have that. What I've been talking about a lot in iAMradio is that the thought that you hear really ain't your driver. It's generally a byproduct from a deeper desire, a deeper why, a more like, hey girl, a more, it's not the part that you hear. So what I'm talking about today is language and its limits and how you can get up in there and make some movements. So our low Western minds have been dipped in all kinds of things, and one of the things is how important it is to be successful. So most people in our world walk around thinking they need to be successful, and not only are they thinking that they need to be, often they're thinking that they're not. And so here's this target that they think that they should hit, and they feel like they're not. And so they walk around in guilt, shame, judgment, and general bad feelings because here's this really important thing that they think that they should be, and they're measuring themselves as not. What's so cool once you start recognizing these concepts that you're holding yourself to is you can ask a series of questions to see what this really fucking means to you. And often you'll find that you are the thing, and it will blow your mind. And then if you want to send me candy or something, you can. And any kind of gift. Okay, so with success, some words people might come to are, well, I want to feel financially secure and abundant. I want to feel proud. I want to feel like I did what I knew I could do. I want to feel like I was in service and contribution. These are all the ways that success could break out, and I will emphasize individuality here because what is meaningful to you is yours. It's unique to you. So you will have a cultural experience of the word success, and then you'll have yours. If you don't know what yours is, I'd start there. And I listed out some things that might resonate with you as important. What you can do then is look for, where are you already doing those things? So, for example, something even like money or body weight, that seems like it has a very clear measuring stick. It's never really the thing, though. It's your relationship to the thing. And you can see that by seeing how, for most people, the bar of what enough is always moving. And if you kind of dig into and unpack that you want to have money, what you might find is that what you really want to have is freedom. And what does freedom mean for you? If you have freedom, what are you doing? What does that look like? Generally, it looks for people like time and space to be with people and things that they love. So they will pursue what they think they need to have for often what they are passing over to get it. So they'll have the thing and they'll think like, I got to go do these things to get the thing. But you could have those things if you weren't looking for them somewhere else, if that makes sense. So it's the same thing with fitness and nutrition. Someone might think, I want to have a different body so that I feel good about myself. I want to be able to feel confident, and so they could feel those things now if they wanted, except for that they put them over there. They think that they got to go do things first, and because they think they have to do things first, then they don't feel it now. A lot of when we're looking at something like success, which has a time function or feature to it, and also just like a little environmental, like, I don't want to call it luck because I think it's more than that, but there's more than what you can personally control with your own two hands. And timing is one of them. And I say kind of and not, because I do think ultimately you can lead those things through your belief and your expectation, but you can't wrestle them into being. And if you try to wrestle them, I think it generally makes things harder. But anyhow, so with success, I broke it apart into different pieces that someone might actually want. Within that, I said, look for where you already have and do those things. So if it is about freedom, see where you actually do have the ability to be present to your loved ones in a way that feels meaningful. So look for where you already have those things, and then let success actually be a seed that you hold. So it's not something you have to run over to go get. It's something that you're nurturing because you already have all the component seeds of it. And you can tend to them and nurture them and watch them grow rather than wait for them to magically be dropped off by some unicorn. And that's usually what we're doing with many of these concepts. We're not familiar enough with what they actually look like underneath to recognize them when we have them. And also, we're not really sure where they come from. So Gene Keys is a system I adore. And one of the Gene Keys is about expectation and talks about how, we're largely trained in our culture to wait for something to come and lift us out of our whatever it is-ness and take us to where our magical whatever it is will be-ness is. But that's really not how things work. They kind of look tiny and ugly at first, and you just show up to them with love, and over time they grow. When you break down a target of success like this into the component pieces and see that you already have them, then you won't walk around feeling like you're not. And because you don't feel like you're not, you actually attract more opportunities that would support and reflect your end state. So if you're walking around thinking, I'm not successful, I'm a waste, I'm burning my potential, that's what people are feeling off of you. And they're probably not going to be like, hey buddy, come join my team. However, if you recognize that you already have and are nurturing these seeds of success, these things that are actually meaningful, important to you, then that's what you give off. And so people in the world are like, oh, this guy's like, he's got something going on. And there's an aliveness to you, and you feel good and confident about yourself and willing to take these risks and grow these things. So what I did today was take a word, a concept, success. And you could do this with pretty much anything, like love or, beauty or meaning, whatever it is. And I pointed out that in our culture, you're likely carrying around this target that's ill-defined, and you're judging yourself for not hitting it. And the judgment is likely very subtle, but it'll register as some level of self-rejection where there is embarrassment that you're not more, or pressure to do more, or something very subtle but pervasive feelings of like, you're not good enough. I suggested taking the concept and blowing it out and breaking it up into what that actually means to you. So how do you define it? And what's there for you? And from there, looking for where you're already doing those things, doing them. And this is, I think, where my methodology differs a little from some other ones, because a lot of systems of development are around like, push, go get it, you could do it, discipline, will. And for some people, maybe that works. But for people, like if there's an area of your life that hasn't moved for a minute and you've tried that, then I try this. Mine is coming at it from a more energetic standpoint and alignment and states of consciousness. And so with a state of consciousness, you can climb to self-worth through years and years of beating the shit out of yourself and eventually thinking like you're good enough. Or you can start to practice feeling what it would be like to be worthy, and then you can express and share from that level. So when I'm looking at this success, I'm saying like, let's put you in vibrational alignment with it. Let's see where actually you already are. You only think that you're not, based on this kind of, like I said, ill-defined concept. And then recognize that those are seeds that you will continue to grow and nurture and show up to and love because they're meaningful to you. It's like if you have a pet that you care about, you probably feed it. You probably make sure it's well taken care of. Similarly, when you're connecting with things that you actually love and that are actually important to you, not because culturally or in your neighborhood they're big deals, you'll see that you show up to them, and what might have required force or will before happens naturally because you love it. You feed your dog because you love it. So seeing that you have these seeds of success already will change how you carry yourself, because you're not apologizing for not hitting something that you actually didn't know what it was that you thought you should be hitting. And you'll feel more on path and in alignment with where you're going and what you're doing, because you'll see that, oh, you are, and well, you always have been, except for that you thought that you weren't. And a lot of the work that I do with people, and a lot of the work that yields the greatest relief, is really these subtle changes where you remove judgment of self and you remove imaginary or perceived limits to access what you already have. So like I talked about with success, one of the things that people ultimately want from that is freedom to enjoy their loved ones. Kind of like scan your Rolodex and see how many people are doing jobs and things they hate to do, which negatively impacts their ability to be present to their family, so that ultimately they can be present to their family. You see how crazy that is? And so much of our culture is built in that way. One of the things that came to me when I was prepping here is think of yourself when you're working with some of these patterns of thinking, speaking, acting, think of it like dog training. So there is a level of neutrality about it where you're not taking it personally. It's a dog. But also see that dog backwards is God. So what you're retraining is kind of this misperception that you're just a little animal. Nah, girl, you're God. So you can kind of work inside out. So it goes from D-O-G-G-O. Yeah. So you're kind of going through this, you're turning inside out to see that you already have the feelings, you already have the things. When I was using the example of fitness and nutrition, yes, there is a physical component to that. You can feel more comfortable in your body if you're moving it more or putting things into it. But you also have a layer of thought that generates feeling that lies on top of that, that actually creates a perceptual environment that cues your cells what to do. One of the most fascinating things to look at is the way that perception impacts your physiology. So kind of going back to this inside out, upside down craziness that is our modern world, our beautiful modern world. People will beat the shit out of themselves for not yet being at their fitness goals, which actually makes them less healthy. If you offer yourself self-love and you tell yourself you're okay, your cells tell your DNA to do things that support that. If you tell them you're wrong and something's bad, they'll live that. And so the hormones supported with fight or flight, this is bad, this is wrong, aren't really going to help you with your goals. This is why, from all the work I've done, I found self-love really is, that's where you get leverage. And for most, it's it kind of like the success target. It's unclear, what is it? On the other iAM radios, I think the first one, I talk about self-love. I think I also have a video on YouTube about what that is. And just to reiterate before we close, to me, self-love is the same as acceptance. And actually, this is going to be my first public rollout of this, I think. For a while, I had been trying to help myself. I wanted to be the queen of self-help, self-development, and that was because I needed a lot of help. And all the years of trying to help myself and develop myself, I saw that I had really only been rejecting myself, which was counter to all the things I was trying to do. And so what I am hopeful to bring to the conversation is a transformation from self-help to self-hug, because you already good, you only think that you're not. And sometimes that's harder to grasp when you are measuring the external, but there is a wisdom to your unique unfolding that if you can learn to accept and validate, then everything that you're encountering feels a part of it, and you can work with it and unfold your mystery rather than feel like it's like you're boxing with life. So when you notice that you think you could be better, when you think that you need to develop something or fix something, instead, self-hug. No self-help, just self-hug. And when you offer yourself acceptance and love from that place, all the other things you're trying to get and do are closer and more accessible to you energetically. All right, so that's my presentation for today. I talked about how concepts can hold you apart from feeling things you already have, and also detract away from your ability to achieve the thing that you think you need to do. I pointed out that many of the concepts and targets that you have for yourself are likely ill-defined, and not because you don't care, probably because you care too much. Also, because there's a lot of noise out there. So when you're going through your relationship to certain words and concepts, be so nice to you about it. Make it real cute. It doesn't have to be bad or wrong or scary or anything you need to fix. It's just something to explore, discover, experiment with. I talked about how you already are likely. I'm gonna go with, because all things are consciousness and you are consciousness, that you already are all the things you think you need to be, and to look for where you have those seeds already will change your relationship to the thing that you think you need to be, so that you can show up to it and nurture it and love it now, which again changes how you walk in the world, because you're not walking around thinking like, I failed, I'm never gonna get it, I don't know how to get it. Like, you already got it. You already been gotten it. I also talked about when you're retraining these patterns, to do that in love as well, and to look at it like dog training. You're going inside out and you're turning it into God. This came to me today. I'm pretty excited about this. I talked a little bit about inner guidance. The quieter your mind is, the more you are open to things you couldn't think of yourself. I can't tell you the power in surrendering the illusion that you think you can think about things and analyze them. That's a lot of pressure on anybody to try to navigate the world through thought. If you're using your brain to get around, it's terrifying. But if you allow yourself to feel into your environment, if you allow yourself to feel into yourself, to your unique experience, your unique wisdom, your unique guidance, it makes it a lot more fun and a lot easier, because you recognize you can't get it wrong. You recognize that what's right for you is only you and yours, and you don't know or need to know what anybody else is doing. And it also takes the pressure off of you to do advanced calculations in time and space, because again, you can't. And two, it takes you away from where you are, which is ultimately where you're trying to get to, and all the figuring you would ever do. So, nice to see so many names here today. That's all I have for today. Oh, I also rolled out, I think I'm going to call this the official debut of the self-hug over self-help, where if you notice that you think you could be some type of better, different, faster, stronger, whatever, instead of trying to help yourself get there, hug yourself. Like, if you can train total acceptance of yourself, I promise, I'm gonna go big on this one. I'll promise it'll be easier for you to allow the result that you have been striving for to walk in your door. Yes, there's still an effort of focus and intention, and I don't want to use the word, it's not effort. I guess once it came to me that work is focusing on an idea through time. So I think it's more like that, where the work is allowing the vision to stay present regardless of the external circumstances. So it's to say, like, everything you touch as it comes across your desk, across your threshold, be like, oh great, this must be for the puzzle I have, rather than I've been waiting for a blue crayon. Wrong. If you embrace everything that walks in as if it was part of your story, it'll feel like it is, and because it feels like it is, it affects it. One, that's true, so that'll probably feel relieving on some levels. And when I say true, I mean it can't not be. Two, even if what walks in the door is an opportunity for you to discern and say, I'd rather have a blue crayon, the red crayon being there isn't wrong. Yeah, I think mostly having that mindset or orientation would allow vibrationally for you to align with what you want for yourself, because you're not saying you don't have it. So yeah, I would say that in which case it would allow for it to manifest, which is a word I'm not really a huge fan of, faster. And the reason I'm not a huge fan of the word manifest is going back to this idea of success. We use all these words, and the way we use words changes how we think, and how we think changes how we feel, and how we feel changes what we experience. And some of the words are supportive of that, and some of them hold it in. Manifest is a word that often is used exclusively, meaning I manifested this orange speaker, wahaha. And then you think like you have drama in your life somewhere else, and you don't recognize that you manifested that as much as this. There is nothing in your little world that you ain't manifesting. Like, it's all you, it's all yours. Some of it is conscious, much of it is unconscious, and that's really where you have the opportunity to make big gains, is the unconscious, by looking at the stuff in your world that you wouldn't excitedly claim and say, how am I claiming this? How is this a part of my experience? And usually it's a carryover of some expectation or belief that's learned. This is how I'm treated, and it never really surfaced because you normalize to it, and so you just kind of like go with it even though it doesn't feel good. You don't think to ask for something else or other because you don't know that it exists. It could also be projected guilt or fear, where it's easier to be mad at somebody else than to forgive yourself at first. So you'll experience your own bullshit outside until you're able to say like, oh, I feel guilty that I did that to somebody once. And if you go back in time and you say, I forgive myself, it's okay, because but until you know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing, and so it's okay. And that to me is also a practice of self-love, where you can explore what guilt does and decide if that really is helpful of what your ultimate objective with it is. If you are in self-punishing, ask yourself why. And is what you're doing with guilt and feeling bad achieving it? Is it good for everybody if you're feeling bad about yourself? What's that relationship? And that's why this is the most fun work to me in the world, because it's so silly. It's so silly. When you start to pop the hood on these things, you're like, really? That's been in here this whole time? That doesn't make any sense. And so it's kind of fun, and if you have a sense of humor about it, it can be kind of enjoyable to reconcile these areas. Sure, when you pop the hood, there might be an emotional experience waiting for you. That's okay too. Embrace that in. If you want to learn how to feel, message me, I'll teach you that. That has been my most, that's been my most recent, no, I guess I've been working on it for a while, but there's a lot to claim there. I think the Joseph Campbell quote of, and honestly, I hope if anybody watches these, they're keeping a record of the quotes I don't quote, because I've been quoting a lot of quotes. I'm pretty sure I'm missing I know I'm not doing it correctly. But the Joseph Campbell quote, in essence, the remix of it is, the cave that you feared to enter holds the treasure that you seek. That one might even be correct. And I really have found that to be true. Okay, I appreciate everybody coming out. Today we talked about language. If there's anything in this iAMradio episode that you like, or in the other ones, let me know. I would be happy to direct topics and conversations to cover what's most helpful to you. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.